Ultimately, Simon removed Garfunkel's vocals and released the album Hearts and Bones as a solo project. Garfunkel was heartbroken. Only unauthorized versions of his vocals are available on certain tracks. A reunion attempt in 1993 ended poorly after a critic dismissed Garfunkel as merely one of Simon's associates. Tensions backstage escalated, almost leading to violence. Years later, Garfunkel's vocal issues resulted in tour cancellations and Simon felt betrayed, stating, "He let us all down. I didn't feel I could trust him anymore." In subsequent interviews and documentaries such as in Restless Dreams, both individuals spoke candidly. Garfunkel acknowledged that he may have hurt Simon's feelings and that he might share some responsibility for the fallout, but he also questioned, "Was I the one who caused the breakup of Simon and Garfunkel? Or was Paul the one who never made room for me?" Simon provided a straightforward response. Duos do not remain together. He likened it to Lennon and McCartney. Inevitable, painful, and irreversible. By 2016, the final curtain had fallen. "We don't get along," Simon remarked. "It's not enjoyable. Their music endures." However, the friendship that gave rise to it never truly mended. From two schoolboys in Queens to icons who transformed the sound of a generation, the saga of Simon and Garfunkel is one of brilliance intertwined with bitterness. Perhaps the most tragic aspect is that they produced some of the most exquisite harmonies in history. Yet ultimately, all that lingered between them was silence. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching. Although the soundtrack was a tremendous success, it could not mend the widening rift between them. In 1969, both were cast in Nichols's film Catch-22, but Simon's role was ultimately cut. Garfunkel traveled to Mexico to film, while Simon remained in New York, working independently on their next album. The physical and emotional distance only intensified their rift. One track from that period, "The Only Living Boy in New York," served as Simon's poetic farewell, alluding to their former stage names. "Tom, get your plane right on time." When Bridge Over Troubled Water was released in 1970, it quickly became a classic. Although Garfunkel was absent from several tracks during live performances, the applause was still directed towards Garfunkel, not Simon, the songwriter. That summer, their final concert as a duo occurred quietly at Forest Hills Stadium. There was no announcement, no argument, just a subdued farewell. Simon proceeded to have a successful solo career, releasing critically acclaimed albums such as Still Crazy After All These Years and Graceland. His songwriting evolved, incorporating global influences and earning him multiple Grammy Awards. Garfunkel faced challenges in achieving similar musical success, but received acclaim for his acting roles in films like Catch-22 and Carnal Knowledge. They briefly reunited in 1975 for the song My Little Town, although they recorded their parts separately. In 1981, they delivered a legendary concert in Central Park to over 500,000 fans. The chemistry on stage was unmistakable, yet off-stage, they hardly communicated. In 1983, they started working on a new album, but Garfunkel's slow recording pace frustrated Simon. A pivotal moment occurred when producer Tom Wilson, who had collaborated with Bob Dylan, found them and arranged a studio audition. They recorded The Sound of Silence there, a haunting melody that Simon had composed in his bathroom with the lights off and water running. They signed with Columbia Records using their real names and released their debut album, Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m. in 1964, which unfortunately flopped. Simon relocated to England to pursue a solo career while Garfunkel returned to his studies. However, something unexpected occurred. In 1965, a remixed version of The Sound of Silence, enhanced with electric guitar and drums by Tom Wilson, began to ascend the charts unbeknownst to the duo. Paul despised the remix, describing it as messy and offbeat, yet the public embraced it. By January 1966, it reached number 1. The duo found themselves reunited, whether they liked it or not. Their subsequent album, Sounds of Silence, was released shortly after their debut. Following that was Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, which was recorded using new 8-track technology that provided their harmonies with a cleaner, richer sound. The album achieved tremendous success, but tension was brewing behind the scenes. Paul Simon penned all the songs, yet it was Art Garfunkel who performed them and garnered the applause. Audiences erupted in cheers for Garfunkel's soaring vocals on songs like Bridge Over Troubled Water, while Simon remained in the shadows, feeling increasingly resentful. This sentiment was not new. Simon recalled his mother once telling him, "You have a good voice, Paul, but Arthur has a fine voice." Those words lingered in his mind. In 1967, they performed at the Monterey Pop Festival alongside legends such as Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and The Who. Their gentle, introspective folk sound stood in stark contrast to the wild rock performances. That same year, director Mike Nichols selected their music for his film, The Graduate, which propelled them to cultural immortality. The track Mrs. Robinson, the only new song contributed by Simon, won the record of the year. They were friends in their youth who evolved into musical icons. Two boys from Queens, harmonizing their voices flawlessly. Yet, beneath the allure of their melodies lay a tempest of envy, treachery, and a connection that gradually unraveled. What caused their silence? What led Paul Simon to eliminate Art Garfunkel's vocals from their concluding album? And was their famed reunion merely a facade? This is the narrative you have yet to hear. The genuine reason behind the disintegration of Simon and Garfunkel. Let us reveal the truth at this moment. In 1953, Paul Simon witnessed Art Garfunkel performing at a school talent show. They were neighbors in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood in Queens, and quickly formed a friendship based on their mutual passion for music. In 6th grade, during a school production of Alice in Wonderland, Paul portrayed the White Rabbit while Art took on the role of the Cheshire Cat. They began to practice harmonies and perform at school functions. By 1957, at just 15 years of age, they pulled together $25 to record a track titled Hey School Girl at Sanders Recording Studio in Manhattan. A promoter named Sid Prosen signed them to big records, and they adopted the stage names Tom and Jerry. The song became a hit, selling over 100,000 copies and securing them a place on American Bandstand. However, the initial spark was short-lived. Subsequent songs did not succeed and the limelight dimmed. By the time they reached college, Simon was pursuing English at Queens College while Garfunkel attended Columbia University. Still bound by their contract, they recorded separately under new aliases Jerry Landis and Tom Graff. Then came the first act of betrayal. Paul Simon clandestinely released a solo single under the pseudonym True Taylor. When Art discovered this, he was heartbroken. That injury would persist for many years. In 1963, as folk music gained traction, they quietly rejoined as a duo, performing in intimate Greenwich Village venues under the name Kane and Gar.